A few days ago, I did this video on why pay-per-click costs for roofers are so damn high. Naturally though, I have a feeling there's going to be a follow-up question, and that is, if pay-per-click costs are so high, is it even worth it as a roofer to keep running pay-per-click ads? So let's dive a little bit deeper into that. First, if you haven't watched this video, you should certainly go back and watch this, because I'm basically going to be talking in context of what I covered in this video, starting with the fact that you need to have one clearly defined conversion event. And let's say that your defined conversion event is a connected phone call. All right, so let's just write this out here, and I'm not too good with this web whiteboard tool, but I do like to use it. Conversion event, we're just going to say first time caller, more than 60 seconds. Those are typically what qualifications I use when I'm setting up a pay-per-click campaign for any of my local businesses. And I do actually own local home service businesses. That is the bread and butter in my life and has been for the last 10 to 12 years at this point. So my skin is in the game when it comes to this stuff, and that is what I use as the conversion event. First time caller, first time the person's calling the business, coming from a paid ad, and the call lasts more than 60 seconds. Right now, let's just say that with pay-per-click ads, let's make that a little bit bigger. Can we do that easily? Yes, we can. I like it when it works nice and easily like that. Let's just say that that first-time caller in a roofing business is $200 to get that to work, or to get that actual person on the phone call, right? So it's $200. Now, you know that that's $200 because you've got this defined conversion event right here that you are tracking through Google pay-per-click, and you're going to need to use a third-party service. I would be using CallRail to actually make this happen. You know that it's $200 for every first-time caller, and the phone call lasts more than 60 seconds, right? Well, now it's simply a factor of your closing rate. If your closing rate is 20%, right? Some horrible freehand work there, but let's just say your closing rate is 20%. That means that you close 1 out of 5 of them, and that's going to give you a cost of $1,000 per customer, right? Now you have to look at this and say, hey, is my average project size that I'm selling more than this? Or is the gross profit, my average gross profit per project, more than this? And is it worth taking on more customers at this number? You know, now while this might sound high, $1,000 per customer, I have to say that I think that is realistically low once you start tracking your marketing sources, or if you are tracking your marketing sources. I know, for example, one of my friends is a dentist, and he was renting this billboard in a mall. So it was in like a shopping mall, and it was kind of like one of those billboards where on one side of it, they've got the map of the mall, and on the other side is the ad. And it was like a three-way type of thing, so there was something else on the other side. And there was a couple of them around the mall, and he was on all sides of them, or on each one of them. So there's like 7 of them in this mall, and he was on each side of them, and he was paying something like $11,000 a month for this billboard. And it was like, it wasn't a full-size billboard. It was like maybe 4 foot wide by 5 foot high, so like a big print ad type of thing. I'm sure you guys can all probably relate to what I'm talking to. They're all over in every mall, right? On the back side of the map, there's some advertisements. I guess now they're digital. Most of them are digital at this point, but this one is still print. And there was 7 of them in there, and he was paying $11,000 a month for it. And he thought it was pretty good, right? So he thought it was pretty good at $11,000 per month. I said, hey, you know, next time that this thing is up for renewal, you should get some tracking numbers on there and see how many people actually call from that billboard. And he put the tracking number on there, and I think he was only getting like 5 calls a month. You know, so when you do this math and say that he was getting calls for $2,000 each, and mind you, these are dental clients, so they're going to be way smaller than roofing, suddenly $200 calls doesn't sound like a lot. So, you know, if to kind of go back to the question, should you run pay-per-click ads as a roofer, the ultimate answer is yes, if you reverse out the numbers and you're selling at a high enough rate to where you're actually profitable on this. It all starts with tracking that conversion event and then understanding on average how many of them you close. So if your closing rate is 20%, I'd say that's a pretty It's a pretty fair number for connected calls. On web forms, it's going to be a little bit lower because there's less intent associated with a web form, and subsequently your web form lead is going to be less than that $200. If your call lead is $200, web leads are going to be probably a lot cheaper, and they're going to come in more volume, but you're not going to close nearly that 20%. If you had a really killer sales team, you might get up above 30, maybe get to 40%, right? And then suddenly your cost per customer goes down when you increase your sales rate. But those are the numbers that I would look for. And ultimately, when you look at the numbers in context of this, typically if you're a roofer and you're selling an average project size of, say, $30,000 to $50,000, in that context, and all things being relative, pay-per-click marketing is still very effective despite the fact that it is very high in cost, or can be very high in cost. And I guess I should further elaborate and say, when you compare it to other marketing sources, like if you took my example with my dentist friend there and you were a roofer and you started paying this number for those billboards in the malls and started looking at the actual numbers behind that, suddenly pay-per-click doesn't look so expensive. And I think there's a lot of advertising sources out there where people just don't track their costs at all, particularly offline, print ad type of thing, billboards, TV, and they spend a lot of money on it and they really generate no business. But because pay-per-click produces, I don't want to say produces so many results, produces so many numbers, right? When you log into your pay-per-click account, you can see numbers and numbers and numbers. People overanalyze it and really kind of just like put it under the microscope when it comes to a return on investing thing, and suddenly start looking at all these numbers and they're like, oh wow, this is high, but then they don't look at it in context of other marketing sources. So yeah, I hope you guys found that helpful and insightful, and if you did, be sure to hit that like and subscribe button. I'm signing off on this one, guys.